Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English with Ease, where mastering English becomes simple and enjoyable. I'm Megan, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you today. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most important and useful parts of English grammar, the past simple tense. And specifically, we're going to focus on something that everyone loves talking about, our childhood memories. But here's the thing. Most English learners struggle with the past tense because they think it's complicated. They get confused about when to add ed and when verbs change completely. They worry about making mistakes with was and were. And honestly, I completely understand that confusion because I see today I'm going to change it every single day. So all of that for you. By the end of this lesson, you'll feel confident talking about your childhood in English. You'll know exactly how to use regular and irregular past tense verbs. And most importantly, you'll have the tools to share your own beautiful memories with English speakers around the world. Now, before we jump in, I want you to do something special. I want you to think about one happy memory from when you were a child. Maybe it was playing with friends, maybe it was a family vacation, or perhaps it was something simple like eating your favorite ice cream. Hold that memory in your mind because we're going to use it later in this lesson. Let me tell you why learning the past simple is absolutely essential for your English journey. Every single day, we talk about things that happened before now. We share stories, we explain our experiences, and we connect with others through our memories. Without the past tense, you're missing a huge part of natural conversation. Think about it. When you meet someone new, what do you talk about? Your background, where you grew up, what you studied, what you did last weekend. All of these topics require the past tense. So mastering this isn't just about grammar. It's about unlocking your ability to truly connect with people. And here's something most English teachers don't tell you. Native speakers use the past tense differently than what you might find in textbooks. We use contractions, we speak with rhythm, and we tell stories in ways that feel natural and flowing. That's exactly what I'm going to teach you today. Let me start with something that might surprise you. The past simple tense is actually much easier than you think. Yes, there are rules to learn, but once you understand the pattern, everything starts to make sense. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, it feels impossible, but once you get it, you never forget. So let's begin with the foundation. In English, when we want to talk about actions that happened in the past and are completely finished, we use the past simple tense. The key word here is finished. We're not talking about actions that continue to the present. We're talking about specific moments or periods in the past that are done. For example, when I say, I lived in Tokyo for 2 years, I'm talking about a specific time in my past that's finished. When I say, I played piano as a child, I'm describing something I did regularly in the past, but don't do now in the same way. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. There are 2 main types of verbs in the past: simple, regular verbs, and irregular verbs. Let's start with the regular ones, because they follow a clear pattern that you can learn once and use forever. Regular verbs are your best friends in English. Why? Because they're predictable. To make most regular verbs past tense, you simply add ed to the end. It's that simple. Walk becomes walked. Talk becomes talked. Play becomes played. Listen, this pattern works for thousands of verbs in English. Let me give you some childhood examples that you'll definitely use. I played outside every day after school. The verb play becomes played. I watched cartoons on Saturday mornings. Watch becomes watched. I helped my mother cook dinner. Help becomes helped. I listened to music in my room. Listen becomes listened. Do you see the pattern? It's beautiful in its simplicity. One rule that opens up so many possibilities for expression. But wait, there's more to learn about regular verbs, and I want to make sure you get this right. Sometimes, when we add ed, we need to make small spelling changes. Don't worry, these aren't random changes. They follow logical rules. If a verb ends in e, we just add d. So live becomes lived, not lived. Move becomes moved. Dance becomes danced. If a verb ends in y after a consonant, we change the y to I and add ed. So study becomes studied. Try becomes tried. Cry becomes cried. But if the y comes after a vowel, we just add ed normally. Play becomes played. Stay becomes stayed. And here's one more spelling rule that's really helpful. If a short verb ends in one consonant after one vowel, we usually double the consonant before adding ed. Stop becomes stopped. Plan becomes planned. But don't worry if this feels like a lot right now. With practice, these patterns become automatic. The beautiful thing about regular verbs is that once you know these patterns, you can use them with confidence. You don't have to memorize each verb individually. The rules work consistently, and that gives you power in your English speaking. Let me share a personal story to show you how this works. When I was 8 years old, I wanted to learn how to bake cookies. Every Sunday, I watched my grandmother in the kitchen. She mixed the ingredients carefully. She rolled the dough perfectly. She baked the cookies until they smelled amazing. Finally, she allowed me to help her. We worked together, and I learned so much that day. Notice how I used all regular past tense verbs in that story. Wanted, watched, mixed, rolled, baked, smelled, allowed, worked, learned. Each one follows the patterns I just taught you. This is how natural English sounds when you master regular verbs. Now, let's practice together. I want you to think about a typical day when you were a child. What did you do? Let's build some sentences using regular verbs. I woke up early. I brushed my teeth. I walked to school. I talked with my friends. I studied different subjects. I played during lunch break. I returned home in the afternoon. I watched some television. I helped with household tasks. Each of these verbs follows the regular pattern. Woke is actually irregular, but brushed, walked, talked, studied, played, returned, watched, and helped are all regular. You're already using the past, simple, naturally. But here's where many students get confused, and I want to clear this up right now. Some of the most common verbs in English are irregular. These verbs don't follow the ed pattern. Instead, they change in their own special ways. And unfortunately, these irregular verbs are also some of the most frequently used verbs in daily conversation. Think about verbs like go, eat, drink, see, have, and be. We use these verbs constantly when talking about the past, but they don't become goed, eated, drinked, seed, halved, or beed. They have their own past forms. Go becomes went, eat becomes at, drink becomes drank, see becomes saw, have becomes had, be becomes was or were. I know this might feel overwhelming, but here's the good news. There are patterns within irregular verbs too, and with the right approach, you can master them much faster than you think. Let me share some of the most important irregular verbs that you'll use when talking about your childhood. These are the verbs that appear in almost every childhood story. So learning them will immediately improve your conversations. Let's start with the verb have. This is probably the most useful, irregular verb for describing childhood. Have becomes had. I had a bicycle when I was 7. I had many friends in my neighborhood. I had long hair as a little girl. My family had a small house with a big garden. We had dinner together every evening. The verb go becomes went. This one is essential because children are always going places. I went to school by bus. I went to my grandmother's house every summer. I went swimming with my cousins. On weekends, we went to the park to play. Now, here's eat, which becomes ait. Food memories are such a big part of childhood stories. I ate cereal for breakfast every morning. I ate lunch at school with my classmates. I ate ice cream when the weather was hot. My mother made special meals, and I ate everything on my plate. The verb see becomes saw. I saw my first movie at the cinema when I was 5. I saw shooting stars from my bedroom window. I saw my teacher every day at school. Sometimes I saw my friends after school to play together. And let's not forget come, which becomes came. My best friend came to my house after school. My relatives came to visit during holidays. The ice cream truck came to our street every afternoon. When I was sick, the doctor came to check on me. Here's something really important about irregular verbs. You cannot guess them. You have to learn them through practice and repetition. But don't let that scare you. Think of it like learning the names of your favorite songs. At first, you don't know them, but after hearing them several times, they stick in your memory forever. Let me tell you about my own childhood, using these irregular verbs so you can hear how they sound in natural speech. When I was 10 years old, I had a best friend named Lucy. Every Saturday, we went to the local library together. We saw so many interesting books there. We came home with our arms full of stories to read. I ate my lunch quickly so we could spend more time reading together. Those were some of the happiest days of my childhood. Do you hear how natural that sounds? The irregular verbs flow smoothly in the story because they're the most common words we use. Your brain will start to recognize these patterns automatically with enough exposure. Now, let's talk about something that confuses many students. The verbs was and were. These are the past forms of the verb be, and they're absolutely crucial for describing how things were in the past. We use was with I, he, she, and it. We use were with you, we, and they. Let me give you some childhood examples. I was a very curious child. My brother was 2 years older than me. She was my favorite teacher. It was a beautiful sunny day. You were always so kind to everyone. We were best friends from the first day we met. kids in school. They were the most popular verbs, help you describe states, feelings, and situations from your past. I was happy when school finished, for summer vacation. My parents were proud when weather was perfect for playing outside. I learned to ride my bicycle. They were excited about our family trip to the mountains. Here's a tip that will make irregular verbs much easier to remember. Group them by similar patterns. Some irregular verbs change their vowel sound in a predictable way. Sing becomes sang. Ring becomes rang. Begin becomes began. Drink becomes drank. Think becomes thought, which is a bit different, but you can see there are small patterns within the chaos. Other irregular verbs stay exactly the same in past tense. Cut stays, cut. Put stays, put. Hit stays, hit. Let stays, let. These are actually the easiest irregular verbs because there's nothing new to learn. I cut my finger when I was learning to use scissors. I put my toys away before bedtime. Sometimes I hit the baseball really far. My parents let me stay up late on weekends. Now, here's where many students make a common mistake, and I want to help you avoid it. When you make negative sentences in the past tense, you use did not or didn't, plus the base form of the verb. You don't use the past form after didn't. So you say, I didn't go to school yesterday. Not, I didn't went to school yesterday. You say, she didn't have a pet. Not, she didn't had a pet. The did already shows us we're talking about the past, so the main verb stays in its simple form. Let me give you some childhood examples. I didn't like vegetables when I was young. I didn't want to clean my room. I didn't understand math very well. My sister didn't play with dolls. We didn't have a computer at home. They didn't allow us to watch TV after 9 o'clock. This rule applies to both regular and irregular verbs. I didn't walk to school means I took the bus or my parents drove me. I didn't eat breakfast means I left home hungry. I didn't see my friends means maybe I was sick and stayed home. For questions in the past tense, we also use did at the beginning. Did you have a favorite toy? Did you go to summer camp? Did you like your school? Did your family travel together? Again, notice that the main verb stays in its simple form after did. Let me show you how this works in a natural conversation. Imagine someone asks you, did you play any sports as a child? You might answer, yes, I did. I played soccer every weekend. Or, no, I didn't. I preferred reading books and drawing pictures. The question uses did, plus the simple verb play. The positive answer uses the past form, played. The negative answer uses didn't, plus the simple form, prefer. This is the rhythm of natural English conversation about the past. Here's something beautiful about mastering these patterns. Once you understand how past tense works, you can tell any story from your childhood. You can share your experiences, connect with others, and express yourself with confidence. Think about the memory I asked you to hold at the beginning of this lesson. Now, you have the tools to share that memory in English, whether it involves regular verbs like played, watched, or helped, or irregular verbs like went, saw, or had. You can construct clear, correct sentences that English speakers will easily understand. And there you have it, my wonderful English learners. We've covered so much ground today, and I'm genuinely proud of how far you've come. We started by understanding why the past simple tense is absolutely essential for natural conversation. We explored regular verbs and their beautiful, predictable patterns with that simple ed ending. We tackled those tricky but incredibly useful irregular verbs that show up in every childhood story. And we mastered the proper way to form negatives and questions using did and didn't. Remember that childhood memory I asked you to think about at the beginning? Now, you have all the tools you need to share that story in perfect English. Whether you want to talk about the games you played, the places you went, the friends you had, or the dreams you dreamed, you can do it with confidence. The past simple isn't just about grammar rules. It's about unlocking your ability to connect with people through the universal language of memories and experiences. Every time you use these patterns, you're not just speaking English correctly. You're sharing a piece of your heart. So here's my challenge for you. This week, find someone to practice with. Tell them one story from your childhood using the past simple tense. Start small, be patient with yourself, and remember that every mistake is just another step toward fluency. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this lesson helped you feel more confident about the past tense, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to English with Ease for more lessons that make mastering English simple and enjoyable. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue building your English skills together. Until then, keep practicing and keep believing in yourself.